Hi, volleyball fans, and welcome back to Volley Talk, the podcast created for volleyball lovers who want to dig deep into what is going on in NCAA and international volleyball. I'm your host, Sarah Pavin. I'm an Olympian, beach volleyball world champion, former Nebraska Cornhusker, and longtime pro, both indoor and on the beach.
And I'm Adam Schultz, former indoor player, international volleyball coach, and the show's resident stat guy.
Playoffs, baby.
What a week.
Heartbreak, left, right, center. Emotions are flying.
No good predictions.
I don't even know what to do. We have got so much to talk about. This, I have no idea how long this episode is going to be. This is going to be the longest episode we've ever done, ever, is my prediction.
I'm going to be editing for 48 hours.
But we have so much stuff went down this week. Can't even believe it. There's more to come this week that we have to look forward to, obviously. But we are very, very excited to also announce our volley winner. So let's get started. All right. It was the last week for the MLV Volley Talk Volley Fantasy League. How did you finish?
168, I believe.
Oh, whew.
Yeah. Not great. And
not much better.
I went out with a whimper.
Adam just fizzled. I finished 74th. Also not much to be proud of there. But our winner, heavy hitter,
congrats,
is our grand winner. You'll be getting a prize from us and the volley staff very shortly. I just want to say thank you to everybody who chose to participate and join us in the fantasy league this year. It was a ton of fun.
It was so much fun. They did a great job with the app and all of the interactivity, how you pick the players. I thought it was really well done and a ton of fun. I was way more engaged in the league this year than last year, and I think that was a big reason for it.
And honestly, I'm so excited as it expands to other seasons and other leagues. If you didn't get a chance to join us this time around, we will always be posting a league, so be sure to join us in future seasons. Thank you so much again to everybody who participated and for the Play Volley staff for creating such a cool app. Other than the Volley Fantasy, which is an incredibly important highlight happening thing for the week, happening for us, highlight for heavy hitter. You know what I mean? There's not a lot happening because we're going to talk about everything pretty much in our segments.
How can you not?
We would be doing all these leagues a disservice if we didn't touch on them. So we have to, there's segments for everything. The one thing that we are not doing a full segment on is the Italian A1 men's finals. They've played 2 matches. Perugia's up 2-0 on Civitanova. They won the first match 3 straight, second match in 4. So this could all be wrapping up on Wednesday. We would also be remiss if we did not mention that UCLA won the NCAA Beach Volleyball Championship this past weekend. They were the 4 seed going in. They beat the number 1 seed Stanford in the final. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe it's UCLA's 4th beach volleyball championship. Huge congrats to the Bruins on that huge accomplishment. That's what's happening this week in the world of volleyball, other than, of course, teams have been announcing their VNL rosters, wide rosters, but
we'll get there. Not this week.
Not for a while. Okay. We've got a lot to unpack here. Let's move on to some of our juicy updates.
Okay, so we wanted to do an MLV preview coming into the finals this week. So I want to go over each of the teams. We've had a whole bunch of questions about, what are the strengths and weaknesses? How would you approach beating this team? What are the keys to success? And I've done a little bit of digging on some of the stats for the season, so we can kind of go over those as well. I mean, let's just start top to bottom. Let's start with Indy. I think at this point, everybody who's paying attention knows pretty much who the starters are.
Yeah, because we've all been making our fantasy rosters.
Give me what you believe their strengths and weaknesses are as a team. We'll talk about some of the stats, and then we can go over strategies on, how you would beat them.
I think they're a pretty good serving team.
Agreed. So they have the top aces per set ratio in the league. They're the only team over 1, so they're hitting 1.1 aces per set.
And I think their middles have had a good season.
Yes, they set them a decent amount. They're not super efficient. None of their middles are above
Forget that then.
300. I would say they probably have the second best middle core.
Okay. I think the pin hitters are undersized, which is like, I know it's a negative, but I feel like they are among the top in the league, particularly Member Mena and Azani Cheeler. Overall, like I think Elena Scott's a good libero. I think they're a well-constructed roster despite being undersized.
I had the same thing. I think they're the most skilled. Like if you just, as pure volleyball players, I think they're the most consistent and they're the most skilled. I also think one of the big separators for them is their mindset. They are aggressive on the serve. If they make a mistake, they come back and swing. They're a team that make you beat them, but they're still able to do that by taking big aggressive swings. Obviously, they finished top of the league. Their stats are pretty good. Team efficiency was second overall at 254. They were the best at holding opponents to the lowest score, so that's always important. Third overall in digs, which I found a little surprising. And out of the 4 teams, they were the worst blocking team, which isn't surprising because again, they're not super big. You know what you're going to get when you play against them, and you've got to show up. And I think that those are the things that work in their favor.
Okay, so then how would you go about beating them?
So when they're in system, because all of their pin hitters can swing and they run the middle a decent amount, they're pretty hard to stop. But because of they're athletic, but they're not very big, I don't think they're great out of system. So you have to serve tough. I would do a lot of crossing serve patterns, so moving across different people. I wouldn't let Elena Scott pass. I would really try and target their left side hitters and try and get them hitting at a system. Because if you can get a solid block up on them, they start to get in trouble. And I've seen teams have success. They just haven't been able to sustain it. So for me, getting them out of system is probably the only way to beat them. Let's go ahead and look at Dallas. Interesting for them. They run the middle the least number of sets overall, but their middles are the most efficient. All of their middles are hitting over 300. And the other piece that I think is missed in all of this is I think they run the pipe the most. In my opinion, one of their biggest strengths is they own the middle of the court better than any of the other teams, whether that's through running the middle or running the pipe over top. I think that's one of their biggest strengths.
I think their outside duo of Maldonado Diaz and Collier are, I would say, the best outside duo in the league.
I would also agree with that.
I love how they've used Mimi Collier, especially as a rookie. I think their setter in Valentine Anderson and the experience that she's brought to that roster is incredibly valuable. I mean, one of the reasons that their middles are so efficient is because they're getting set so little. Like the fewer times you get set, the easier it is to be efficient.
Yeah.
So would you say that the team are they a bad passing team?
That is where they get into trouble. I think both Mimi and Maldonado Diaz have the ability, maybe ability is the wrong word. They have stretches where they can struggle to pass. You got to serve tough against them. It's not about being in system or out of system. It's just you can put them under duress and take them out of their rhythm. That is where they run into some issues. Now, they're the most efficient team as a whole in MLV, so they hit 265 on the year. They are the number 1 blocking team. Out of the 4 teams, they have the lowest digs per set, and they're third for aces per set. So if you can extend rallies on them and get past their block, you have a pretty good shot at scoring. And I don't think they put teams under enough pressure. If we see a Dallas Indy final, if Dallas wants to win that match, they're going to have to be better from the service line than I think they typically are. They're going to need to take a few more risks. Let's talk about San Diego. We can spend a little bit more time talking about it because we had somebody write us and say, why have you guys hated on San Diego?
Why do you always expect them to lose when they've gotten a lot better?
Okay, so let's address that first, and then we'll talk about them as a team. At the beginning of the season, they had a ton of roster turnover. Like almost nobody was back. And, Grace Loberg has had an unbelievable season, but she only played half the matches for Vegas last year. Like she hasn't
good. Like
she hasn't done
anything.
So she has stepped up and done really well. None of these players like Rakalcevic, like you didn't know what you were going to get from her. Like she's played for a very long time. Sambuthi was in Love last year.
Concussions.
Montserrat, as we talked about, I thought really struggled at the beginning of the season. We weren't big fans. She's gotten a ton better. If you look at them, there are no stars on this team, in my opinion.
That's the thing, is like looking at this roster, yeah, they started real bad, but then I was like, yeah, of course they did. Like looking at the roster, I'm not like, wow, I'm surprised that this person isn't lighting it up.
Yeah.
Because like, when have they lit it up? So I think that's why, like at some point it just became a running joke throughout the season. Like, no, Montserrat, blah, blah. Like they did get a lot better.
100%.
But I just didn't let it go.
I would say out of all of the teams that are here, they have exceeded the sum of their parts. Like they play really well together. So if we look at them, they're the second best at holding opponent efficiency down, right? So they're hard to play against. And I think you see that when you watch them. They don't let the ball hit the floor. They're second in aces per set. They're second in blocks per set. They're first in digs per set. Like they're gritty. They're a blue collar team that works, that gets touches. The ball hits them. They put it over. But out of the 4 teams left, they're the least efficient siding out. Like they want to extend rallies. They want to get into the trenches with you. And
make the other teams make mistakes, basically. Which is that the most effective way to win?
And it's not pretty. Like when you watch them, sometimes it's not pretty volleyball, but they've found a way. And I think that for me that's become their identity. We're going to be scrappy. We're going to do, all of those things. That would be kind of why I think you have that impression of them and why it's been that way throughout the season.
I mean, given the fact that they have the lowest hitting percentage, I think you need to serve them strategically and or aggressively. If you're not able to serve with aggression and be precise, then at least be precise. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like hit a target.
Take an option away.
Because we already know that they're the least efficient team in the Final Four. Taking an option away will only exacerbate that. I think you just need to stick with your serving strategy.
And I think you need to be patient with them. You need to understand they're going to extend rallies. You need to
make weird plays.
Yes. They're significantly higher in digs per set than any other team. So the ball is coming over and you have to run the middle. You have to overload. You have to find hands. And you have to know that I might have to swing 2 or 3 times in this rally to score the point. The other teams are more skilled than they are. But if they get frustrated, that's where I think San Diego surprises teams and comes up with wins. All right, so now let's dive into Omaha, who finished 4th, squeaked into the playoffs, had high expectations coming into the season. What are your thoughts about them? Strengths, weaknesses?
You guys, I can't even tell you. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like their middles are kind of a question mark. It's so hard because all these players that were so hyped up at the beginning of the season, I feel like have kind of ended up being disappointments. Shockingly, I feel like Londot has been a bright spot for them, which did I ever think I would say that? No. I'm stumped. I don't know.
Okay, here's what I have. Well, let's do the stats first. So out of, again, the 4 teams, they were 3rd in team efficiency. They hit .232. They were 3rd in aces per set at .82. They were last in holding down opponent efficiency against. They were 3rd in blocks, and they were 2nd in digs.
So not great compared to any of the teams.
Correct.
That are in the final.
Now, here's what I think. One, I think Kira Reinhardt did a great job this year, but I think their second middle is a huge question mark. They don't really know.
Like a revolving door sometimes.
And this is my biggest knock against them is I don't think they have a starting lineup, right? Beeson's starting now over Londot, even though I thought Londot did a pretty good job all year. You don't know who's,
Reagan Cooper came in for a second, then Parsons came in for a bit. It's like, who is ever going to play? And I don't know.
Sydney Hilly and Nuneviller are the only 2 who can be, well, I guess, and the libero. So Ogilvie is playing. But that position they had somebody leave the team this year. Mm-hmm. Roster turmoil, I think, is a negative for them.
Mm-hmm.
Individually, they have a lot of good players, but they haven't been able to put it together. So in the case where everybody on their team has a good to great night, they're a good team. They can be a good team. We just haven't seen it consistently. So I think that's one of
I think the
positives.
Person running the offense has a lot of experience. Yep. Has she had a great season? No, but worth mentioning.
They definitely have the potential to be an upset team. And if they ended up winning because they played 2 great matches, would I be horribly shocked? No, I wouldn't be. Because I think in a vacuum, if you look at their players, they're skilled and they're pretty deep. Like if they go into the match and Parsons isn't playing well, Reagan Cooper can come in and have a good match. If Londot starts and doesn't play well, I'm less certain that Beeson would come in and play well. She didn't have a very good season. But you have an option there. You have options in all positions. So that, I think, is one of the strengths for them as a team. One of the question marks for me is they have a very young coach. He's inexperienced. How are you going to make decisions? What are you being told? How much freedom do you have to make decisions, in the moment? I think all of those things make it very hard to be successful, but at the same time alleviates pressure, right? And that was the brilliant move about switching out the coach. You can point out, well, we got a 24-year-old coach, we're not expected to win. And I think that in that market specifically can be a big deal.
Yep.
I will say they don't run the middle a ton, only 16% compared to the other teams, and their middles aren't very efficient. Very few of their players were efficient. Obviously, they have the lowest team hitting efficiency out of the 4 teams there. If you come and play and you get what we have seen from Omaha all year, I don't expect them to beat Indy. I don't think they're going to be able to be that consistent for the whole match against Indy. Those are kind of the 4 teams, an overview of strengths, weaknesses, how we would approach playing each of those teams. Give me your quick predictions on the weekend. So we have Indy, Omaha in one semifinal. We have Dallas, San Diego in the other semifinal. And then tell me who you think the winner is going to be.
I think Indy will beat Omaha. And I honestly think the Dallas-San Diego match will be a really good match. I think Dallas will win, but I think that one will be the tighter match of the 2.
That is the one I'm most looking forward to watching. I think it's going to be good volleyball. I'm excited for that one. So you have Indy, Dallas in the final. Who are you picking? I agree with you with your predictions, by the way.
I'm going to call a Dallas upset. Because has Dallas beat Indy at all this year? I feel like no. I feel like Indy's owned that series, but I'm just feeling like something magical will happen maybe,
I had the instinct that Dallas was going to win as well, and I think they're going to be able to win in the middle.
Ooh.
That's why. Now, my caveat stands. If they can't put service pressure on, I think Indy will win. But if they get any kind of service pressure, I think Dallas wins.
Well, as we're going to see in our upcoming segments, our predictions have been blown apart recently. So don't put any stock in anything we're saying. It probably won't come true, but it's fun trying anyway.
Watch the matches and find out.
On Ion, wherever that is. Over the weekend, we had the regionals for the NCAA Men's Championship. 4 locations, the 4 top seeds got to host, and they also got byes into the regional final. On Friday was the regional semifinal. We saw Pepperdine beat Fort Valley State 3-0. Loyola Chicago beat St. Francis 3-0. USC beat Belmont Abbey 3-0. And UC Irvine beat Penn State in 5.
So just a couple of things. We didn't watch these ones, but I was curious and I went in and looked at some of the stats. So the Fort Valley Pepperdine, that was pretty straightforward, as was the USC Belmont Abbey. But the Loyola Chicago St. Francis game was really close. 30-28 for Loyola Chicago, 29-27 for Loyola Chicago, and then 25-20. Close match. Loyola Chicago was pushed for those. Wanted to give a shout out to a couple St. Francis players who posted really good matches. Brady Stump hit 371 on 35 attempts, and then Cole Dorn hit 389 on 18 attempts. So those were the 2 biggest attackers for St. Francis. Always want to shout out players who show up in big moments. Looking at the match breakdown, I think St. Francis just didn't run the middle at all. In a set where, you need 1 or 2 more points, that's what you need to do. But shout out to those guys. Looks like they had the outside hitters for St. Francis played really well. The UC Irvine Penn State match was interesting. Again, I just kind of dove in looking at the numbers and some of the breakdowns and team comparisons because I was curious, because I did not expect this to be this close. The sets that UC Irvine won were like pretty big. So 25-18, 25-17. Penn State won one set 25-19. And then the other two were Penn State beat UC Irvine 29-27. UC Irvine pulled it out 15-13 in the fifth. So like that one could have gone either way, and that would have been a huge result given what happened in the next round. Looking at this, just a couple things that stood out to me. So Penn State had 27 hitting errors to UC Irvine's 12.
That's a big difference.
That's a big difference. UC Irvine hit 390 as a team on the match. That's efficiency, not kill percentage, to Penn State's 240. And
hitting 240 with 27 errors is still pretty impressive.
I know.
They either scored or made a mistake. There were no continues in this match.
It was a terminal match. And then UC Irvine had 24 blocks to Penn State's 15.
Well, there's the difference, everybody.
Yeah, so there's a couple big discrepancies there, which kind of makes sense given that UC Irvine blew them out in a couple sets.
I think there was some controversy in this match. Somebody who watched it or was there tell me, because I heard that the UC Irvine setter got hurt or something and took a really, really long time in the locker room, and like the UC Irvine head coach went there. I don't know if it stopped play and like Penn State was like just being gracious or something, but like somebody tell me, because do you think that impacted the result of the match if you watched and saw what happened?
I'm curious what set that would have happened after. But one player I wanted to shout out from Penn State, Tristan Hassel hit 355 on 31 sets for Penn State. So again, standout performance, given the result, they were almost there.
And then we moved to Saturday.
Oh boy.
Wowzers.
I will just say I went 1 for 4 on my predictions. That is not good.
Adam did not have a good. If this was his bracket, he would have imploded. It would have been poof.
AI Adam was hallucinating for these predictions.
Oh my gosh.
You went 2 for 4.
Went 2 for 4, which isn't much better. But
I mean,
okay.
I'm honestly, how many people picked Ball State over Pepperdine? Because
I think maybe a lot of people.
Really?
I think maybe like watching that match. Full disclosure, I watched the UCLA match and I watched the Ball State Pepperdine match.
I'm going to watch the USC Hawaii match tonight, but that doesn't help us for now.
I will say there were probably a lot of people who thought Ball State really had a chance. I say that after the fact. I was not one of those people. I mean, Long Beach State beat Loyola Chicago 3 straight. Hawaii beat USC in 4. Do you have anything you want to talk about before we get to the 2 matches that I messed up in my prediction? And maybe everybody messed up in one of the 2 or both?
Looking at the USC and Hawaii stats, there were a couple things that needed to happen, in my opinion, for USC to win. First thing we talked about, or I talked about at least, was that Hawaii's outsides, we hadn't really seen them, the 3 of them put together, really good performances altogether.
I think what everybody wants to know is, did Cade play?
Cade did not play from what I could see. I'm going to read you a couple stat lines from this match. Petrisky hit 220 on 41 sets. Sakamoko hit 258 on 31 sets. And Adrian Rourke hit 458 on 24 sets. And they ran the middle 19% out of that. And their middles were relatively efficient. I will pat myself on the back and say, if Hawaii's outside core all play to their potential, they're very hard to beat. And that looks like it happened here. Again, like I said, I'm going to watch this one. But numbers-wise, they showed up and played well, which, I mean, makes sense as to why they won.
Well, it's a good thing that we didn't watch this match live because, as Adam said, Roar always plays bad when we watch live. And he posted the best numbers of all the outsides for Hawaii.
Stats for the match, and we said USC would have to serve well, and they had been blocking incredibly well. Here are the match stats that stood out to me. Hawaii had 61 kills to USC's 51. They were exactly the same, 19 hitting errors apiece. Hawaii's hitting efficiency was 328 to USC's 294.
In the grand scheme of things, pretty
close. Now, Hawaii had 9 aces to USC's 4, but they also had 27 serving errors to USC's 15.
I mean, that's a 1-3 ace to error ratio, which in men's volleyball is not ridiculous.
Well, and USC's strength is their middle. Like their middle attackers are generally very good. So keeping them out of system or applying a ton of service pressure was good because USC needed to block well to beat Hawaii, and they were outblocked 18-17. So it's close.
Well, what was USC's serving numbers?
So USC had 4 aces to 15 errors.
Okay, so virtually 1-4.
Yeah.
So they served worse.
Worse, and didn't put as much pressure on them. But we knew that USC would have to block well and run the middle in order to beat Hawaii because their outside core is just not as good as Hawaii's when they're all
well,
clicking.
their middles and like their blocking is a big strength of them.
I mean, Hawaii did the things they needed to win. And I mean, the sets were close. Hawaii won 25-22, lost 24-26, and then won 25-23, 32-30. Like that match could have gone either way, which is, why I'm excited to watch it later. But I think that was a good match, and Hawaii played well enough to win when it mattered.
Okay, let's start with Ball State Pepperdine. I watched this match. Quite frankly, I feel like if you didn't watch it, just skip the whole thing and watch set 5 because it was wild. As I was watching the beginning or the majority of the match, I was like, you know what? I underestimated Ball State. I was very impressed with their block defense. I feel like their floor defense was a lot cleaner and they picked up a lot more balls than we tend to see in like the MPSF or the Big West. Like Hawaii's a good defensive team, but you know what I mean? So I think their defensive system as a whole was very, very good. They weren't necessarily as a team hitting their serves with the same pace that we often see in MPSF and Big West, but I would say it seemed a little more consistent, and their attackers they were solid. They're a solid team.
Well, their hitting efficiency as a team was much better than Pepperdine. So they hit 347.
Well, because they blocked Pepperdine like crazy. That's what I'm saying. Like their defensive system was so good. They blocked really well. They were digging well. Yeah, watching the match, it was just very back and forth. Like I said, I felt like both teams were pretty evenly matched. Ball State was getting a ton of touches on Hartke, either straight up blocks or getting really good touches on him. Barnett was hot and cold. He had moments of brilliance, moments of not so brilliant play. The middles, ED in particular for Pepperdine was good as always. Honestly, the Swiss middle, like their middles were very good. So I don't really have a ton to say about the match as a whole except set 5. Holy moly. The most clutch finish to a match I think I've ever seen. So it was all point swings. If you're going to go watch it, turn it off here. Spoilers are coming. Pepperdine goes up 4-1. Then it's 4-4. Then Ball State is up 11-7. And I'm like, yikes, this is game over. Then next thing you know, Pepperdine's in the lead. Okay. Pepperdine is up 14-12. One of their players goes up, hits a serve almost in the bleachers. I'm like, wow, okay. They still got a chance. This kid, Pat Rogers, I believe, was serving. Senior, okay? His career is on the line, everybody. He goes back to serve, and in my head, I was like, dang, I would really hate to be serving right now. This kid goes up and absolutely hits the snot out of this serve. Like it's 0-0. Round of applause just for that. I was like, jaw on the floor. I was like, wow. They set Cole Hartke roofed 14-14. Pat Rogers is like, I got more where that came from. Proceeds to get 2 aces to finish this match. The game ended and I was just stunned. I was like, what did I just witness? Anyway, very exciting. Go watch set 5 if you didn't watch it. I watched the replay on YouTube and I kept looking. I'm like, dang, it's 14-12. How is there only like a minute left of this? That's why
2 aces walk
nobody
off.
touched the ball.
Were they clean aces?
Jenks.
By who?
I think Gomez.
Oh boy.
I think it was happening too fast. I couldn't focus. Oh my gosh. So bow down to Pat Rogers for that just incredible show of mental strength.
I might go back and watch that 2 minutes just to see those serves. I do have a question for you. So you mentioned the Pepperdine middles, and digging into the stats of the match, Will Patterson, who was a middle for Ball State, stood out to me. He got 18 sets, which was more than one of the outside hitters for Ball State, and he hit 667. Like, what was your impression of him during the match with numbers like that?
So here's the thing that I was thinking watching the match. I was so impressed at how the Ball State setter, Machado, ran the middle from everywhere.
He's
From
Brazilian. He's Brazilian,
everywhere.
right?
Yeah. Like he'd get pulled behind the 10-foot line and he would run the middle. And I was watching this being like, okay, this isn't something we see every day. It was really cool, like how much he was forcing it. So even though like Pepperdine was trying to rip serves, even if the passes were pulling off the net, like they were forcing the middle, which it's a huge size mismatch for their left sides going up against Hartke.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good plan.
Yeah, I saw those numbers and I was like, man, he got a ton of balls. And so my assumption was they passed pretty well, but I love when a setter pushes the middle and they work on that connection. I think it's a highly underrated skill that is so valuable, especially as matches go on. When you have to honor the middle, it makes such a difference. So I was really curious, and that's a really interesting point. Was the match entertaining? Like, was the volleyball good? Like, what were your impressions after the whole thing was over outside of the fifth set?
To be honest, it wasn't my favorite match to watch, but the fifth set was worth the price of admission. And I'm just kind of annoyed because there were a lot of challenges, A, that went wrong for the most part, but B, the down official slashed like at least 3 or 4 of them, meaning he didn't see what happened. That sucks. You know what I mean? So that was kind of annoying.
I know you have lots of thoughts on this next match, but I want to read you a couple stats, and I want you to tell me 9 times out of 10 if you think these stats are good enough to win. Your outside hitter, your P1, hits 435 on 46 sets. Your P2 hits 366 on 41 sets. And your opposite hits 250 on 24 sets. You run the middle 16% of the time, and your one middle hits 500.
100% yes.
Those are UCLA's numbers for this match. You hate an underdog more than I do.
You guys know, if you've been with us for a while, you know I detest when underdogs win. My heart is broken. Not because I particularly have like a personal tie or a vested interest in UCLA's success. It's because watching them all season, they are, and I say are, present tense, the best team in the country.
They're outstanding.
Like, they're the best team in the country, and they should be in the Final Four, and it breaks my heart. I'm like, I am unwell about them losing this match, and they're hosting the Final Four, which makes it even worse.
Well, and the way it went down
is so questionable.
It's just tough. But again, like statistically, they did.
Are UC Irvine's numbers better?
UCLA got more kills than them. Now, I will say UC Irvine had 6 aces to UCLA's 4. UCLA made 22 service errors to UC Irvine's 18. They outdug them. UC Irvine outdug them 48-39 and outblocked them 15-11. So in all of the stats outside of hitting percentage, they did have an edge.
Do you want to know why I think they had an edge?
Sure.
Because they had nothing to lose.
Well,
they had absolutely nothing to lose. And watching the match, I turned to you and I was like, UCLA isn't even playing bad. UC Irvine is just literally playing so free. They are just absolutely going for everything. They know that they have to just throw it all into the wind and see what happens.
So UCLA, obviously, I think William Darcy is generally UC Irvine's best attacker. Would you agree with that? The Aussie opposite.
No, I know.
Or one of, right? Because you have a couple other young outsides on that team, right?
They're a decently young team. I think their middle, Clark, is very good. I think Micah Goss has gotten a lot better. Like, I don't want to just like stomp all over UC Irvine and be like, meh.
No, but if you're...
No, their middle, particularly Clark, very efficient.
And played well, 400 on 30 sets.
Wow. Micah Goss has improved since his freshman year. His serving is very good.
Very good.
The two young left sides.
Andreas Brink
had the match of his life, I think. Darcy is hot and cold for me.
What do you think Darcy's stats on this match were?
Honestly, I wasn't really paying attention to him because I was just like, this Brink kid is like having a day.
Darcy hit 0 on 22 sets. Brink hit 483 on 29 balls. This kid, and this is one of the things that you either love or hate about men's volleyball, is that anybody can have a match on any given night. And
that's Adam's tagline for men's volleyball.
But it's true. And this kid, he's a beach player. He doesn't even play a ton of indoor. He's a freshman.
Well, didn't the French kid get freshman of the year for the Big West? Like, he didn't even get it.
If you're doing game prep against UC Irvine, Brink is probably the third outside hitter that you're worried about. Like, we talk about, hey, if you're going to play UCLA, you're going to make Decker beat you. You're going to make Brink beat you.
And he was like, challenge accepted.
100%. Like, he made swings, and some of the swings were like rattlers between the block and scored. There were some balls he had no business scoring on, but he found a way, and it was impressive to watch a freshman come out and play like that. He was fearless.
Fair. My heart is still broken.
No.
I can't believe it. I'm in denial. I feel like we didn't really see a ton of emotion and firepower from UCLA's side until the fifth set. It's like and I don't know this for a fact, but watching it, it's like they kept being like, okay, it's going to happen now.
Yeah.
It's going to happen now. We're going to figure it out. And so they just stayed very like...
Which is what you want.
Yeah, even. But UC Irvine just would not go away.
UC Irvine won sets 1 and 3, 25-23. So they made plays at the end of those sets. And UCLA won 2 and 4, 25-19. Mm-hmm. Like, they weren't close.
No.
And
they built a lot of momentum going into set 5 too. Can we talk about what happened at 14-12?
One thing I noticed before we get there, and I don't know if this was strategic or game plan based off who the UC Irvine middles were, but I didn't think they ran the pipe as effectively or as much as they had all season, and I thought it was one of their best weapons.
I agree with you for the first 2 sets. I think they started using it more as the match went on, but I don't think they used it as much as they should have throughout the entire match. I feel like, UCLA often comes under a lot of criticism for how many serves they miss, but they as a team typically just hammer serves, so it is more risky. I didn't feel like they put enough service pressure on UC Irvine. It wasn't the UCLA serving team that we're used to seeing.
I agree. I thought UC Irvine put more service pressure on UCLA than they did, and that was... So those 2 areas of the game, which I think UCLA normally dominate in, running the pipe and service pressure, I don't think those 2 things in particular were clicking as well as they normally are. And I think those are the reasons that they didn't pull this off. Like, you get 2 more good serves, a little bit more service pressure. Like I said, they were able to run Clark 30 times in that match. Yeah. If you can apply a little bit more pressure, I think that was the difference looking back on it. Now, let's talk 5th set.
UCLA's up 14-12. Brink goes up, hits a ball into the rafters. UCLA storms the court. They think they win. And then UC Irvine calls a challenge, which, I'm sorry, I hope that they had super telescopic cameras for the down ref, because every single angle they showed on TV did not look like a touch at all. So I'm like, this ref better have seen something definitive, because the number of slash calls I saw in the Ball State game, it's an option.
Do we know if the camera systems are as good for the men's games as they are for the women's?
I don't know. But can you imagine the exhale you take and the like release of emotion that you let go after that point, only to have to pack it all in and refocus after that? I can't. Because I don't think they can either, because then we saw 2 uncharacteristic hitting errors, one by Cameron Thorne, who my heart is broken for him because that was an unreal swing.
It was a great swing.
Just over-rotated, missed the sideline. But
do you know
that
that was his only error of the match?
Oh my, Adam, why do you have to tell me that? That makes me feel like I have goosebumps in a terrible way. Like my heart is clenching in pain thinking about that.
Yeah.
Like, and that's his last swing as a UCLA, as a college athlete. Then match point, Zach Rama goes in. It's a decent pass, goes in with tempo. For whatever reason, the set is a freaking rainbow to the stratosphere. And he's completely out of rhythm, which I don't know why the heck that set was so flipping high, because the pass wasn't that bad. And he misses out the sideline. That's his last swing as a college athlete. Like I think I have PTSD or something, or like I'm projecting my own issues on this match, because watching that, like I can't handle it.
I mean, I think you and I have both missed swings for matches in various degrees of finals, and it is not a fun feeling, and those stay with you. And you could just feel the emotion from both of those players in that setting.
Like I'm almost crying thinking about it right now. I don't wish that feeling on anyone. I
liked Rowan's decision to run Cameron Thorne on that first ball. He'd been unstoppable. It was a good swing. He just missed. Like, I'm fine with that. But I think he set him again in a rally, and you needed to go
to Rama.
I think you needed to go to Sean Kelly on the pipe. I think the decision making in those last couple rallies, and again, it's easy to point fingers and it's easy to coach from the couch, but I've loved his decision making all year. And I think in that moment, it wasn't right.
Yeah, he waited too long to go to one of the outsides in that moment.
Yeah.
100%.
You got to trust your big guns to get the job done when you need to. And like you said, the set was not right for the last one for Rama, or at the very end. I was stunned when that happened.
I felt sick, honestly, when the game ended. But we are guaranteed a Big West team in the final. We've got 3 Big West teams in the final 4, 1 MIVA, which I'm like happy, honestly, that Ball State made the final 4, because I think that this is so important for the growth of men's volleyball. Just to have a team that's not from the West Coast to be in the final 4, I think it's huge. We need to continue to see teams from MIVA and other conferences like make those pushes into the final 4. So I love that Ball State is going. But we've got Hawaii against Long Beach State, and then in the other match, it's UC Irvine against Ball State. What are your predictions?
Well, we know my predictions aren't going to be any good. I actually think Ball State has a good shot at beating UC Irvine.
So do I.
Listen, I love standout performances, but Brink will maybe never play that well again.
He's gonna be like, watch me.
Well, you know what? There are matches where everything just goes your way, and that's.
Do you think the fact that they're playing in LA will lean in Long Beach State and UC Irvine's favor?
No, I don't think so. You're not playing in your home gym. You might have fans there, but there's not a ton of more familiarity or anything else with that. For me, that's a non-factor. I'm going to say Ball State in 5. I think that match is going to go 5.
Let's get the Indiana crowd down to LA, escape your spring weather, go hit up the sunshine for a bit, cheer on Ball State.
All the Ball State fans are like, I wish he wouldn't have picked us.
Because it means they're not going to win. I am going to stick with Hawaii winning, rematch of the semifinal from last year, some unfinished business for Hawaii because they lost to Long Beach State last year, obviously. So I'm going to say Hawaii, and then I want to say Ball State. I think Ball State's block defense, if they are able to handle UC Irvine's service pressure, I think that they will be fine.
I think they're going to struggle against UC Irvine's middles. But I like with how disciplined they play defense against a young-ish outside hitting core, I think they could make life difficult, but they're going to have to slow down the middle because if Trevor Clark is getting 30 sets and hitting 400, when a middle's that good, it just throws off your defensive structure because you need to start cheating, you need to pinch blockers, it opens things up. Their middles are going to be the key to them winning, so we'll see what happens there.
I'm taking Hawaii to win it all.
I think that is a fair assessment.
We'll come back next week and it will be completely wrong, but we can't wait to talk about it. So tune in to those matches. I need to recover. I'm glad I have a few days to kind of process what happened this past weekend. But
Sarah's going out to get an emotional support animal.
It was really fun to watch regardless. All right, our last segment in a very busy week is Women's Champions League. The Final Four was this weekend in Istanbul. We remember back to when we had the playoffs. It was Vakifbank playing Conegliano and Izazibashi playing Scandici. Way back when, my prediction was a Vakifbank Fenerbahce final, with Vakifbank winning. Obviously, Fenerbahce didn't play in the Final Four, so here we go.
So before we get into the different matches, I have two statements for you. I want you to tell me if you agree or disagree with these statements.
Okay.
Statement 1. Boskovic is back.
From set 3 against Conegliano on, yes, she is back. It was really great to see.
This one's a little more controversial, but I'm curious. Markova is now the best player in the world.
It's so hard to say that because, is she a great passer? Is she the best passer in the world? No. Has her passing improved tremendously since last year? Yes. Oh, I don't know if I can say that she's the best player in the world, but she has really made a case for herself to be in the top 5 at least.
Okay. We might have to do a segment of top players in the world and see where we end up with that. And then one other thing, I think just for context for listeners who maybe don't pay attention to Champions League quite as much, where do you think winning this tournament ranks in terms of the most difficult things to win in volleyball? So off the top of my head, you have Olympics, you have World Championships, you have VNL, and probably Champions League would be kind of the 4 big volleyball to-dos. Where do you think this ranks on that?
I want to say Champions League can be a little more forgiving in the preliminary rounds, in the sense that you have a home and away chance to kind of play a team. Whereas in the Olympics and World Champs, it's you have your pool play, then it's single elimination playoffs. Champions League, the home and away until you get to the Final Four makes me think that that is a big factor, for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because single elimination, it is you need to be on. There's no messing around. You cannot make mistakes. When I think of level of play, I think that this is the highest level of play that you see in the world.
And just kind of from a pride or swagger standpoint, somebody goes, I won Champions League or I have an Olympic gold medal. Which one is more impressive?
Oh my gosh. I mean, both.
Fair.
I don't know. It's hard for me to answer that because I played for a country that was
never had a shot
at the time, really bad.
Yeah.
And like even now, like even though Canada's a lot better, do they have a shot of winning Olympic gold? Probably not. So it was really hard for me to say that because I was never in that position Olympic wise indoor. I did play in a Champions League Final Four, and it is something that I am very proud of in my career.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure I can answer that due to like where I'm from.
Okay, fair enough. I was just curious, and I think the context is helpful for people who aren't maybe as immersed into the whole process, as we are and other people. So, okay, having gone through that, where do you want to start?
Semi-final matches.
Which one?
Let's do Azazibashi Scandici.
Well, here are the scores. So the sets, quite frankly, were never really close. You either had one team win. Yes, it went to 5, but one team won generally with a pretty good margin in this regard. So Scandici 25-20, then 25-20 the other way, 25-17, 25-21, and Azazibachi winning 15-8 in the 5th set. What were your takeaways from this match? And who did you think was going to win?
I know that certain fans get so upset when I say this, but like I don't love Azazibashi as a team. I just don't. I thought Scandici was going to win. My Champions League swindle, Stishak, she was unreal.
Unbelievably good.
Not defensively, offensively. I did see her get hit by a few balls. She dug one. You guys, I'm joking. It's fine. But she was unbelievable. You know who really impresses me from Azazibashi is Sinead Jack Kissall.
Stishak put up unbelievable numbers, but she might be my MVP.
Oh my gosh. She was pretty good in VNL last year. For those who aren't familiar, she's originally from Trinidad and Tobago, married a Turkish man, and now represents Turkey internationally. So she was pretty good in VNL, but like, man, this past season, I am so impressed. She is so good, but like Stishak, wow.
That's the
I
best
have not
I've
seen
ever
her
seen
play like that ever.
So she hit 475.
That's insane.
On 40 balls and had 30 points.
That's crazy.
I think that might be her best match ever. Like, she was unbelievably good, and they don't win that match if she doesn't play like that.
Yeah.
Now, on the flip side, Skinner and Bossetti were not very good. I thought that Scandici became a one-dimensional team. And
that has been a criticism people have had of them leading up to this too, is like, it's like the Antropova show. Like Katarina, her ball control is top notch. Avery Skinner throughout the season has done a really good job improving.
She struggled this match.
Camilla Weitzel has really come into her own this season. Onyenovich, like Brenda Castillo, like they are a solid roster. But when Antropova is not scoring at will, it's challenging.
Well, I mean, she hit 417 on 49 balls. She was
did.
Very good.
To be fair, I didn't see a ton of this one. I saw a couple sets. Adam saw almost the whole thing.
Yeah.
So, but the sets that I saw, my statements about Azazibashi stand.
So Skinner hit 179 on 28 sets, and Bossetti was 187. Like you need one of your other outside hitters to be better than that. I think the thing that impressed me the most was Azazibashi ran a very balanced offense. They set all of their players, they ran the middle 19% of the time. They moved the ball around. Like, even when you look at the distribution and the number of sets that different players got, it was much closer than what you would kind of typically think as a Kara Kurt Stishak team. And the other thing I will say is I thought they did a good job utilizing their bench, bringing in players in different roles to score in certain places and in certain situations. So I was impressed with them this match, because I thought if Skinner, played the way we had seen her play average throughout the season, I thought Scandici was going to win. But I just didn't love the offense Scandici put forward. I didn't think they moved the ball around enough. I didn't think they ran the middle enough. it almost looked like it was just, hey, we're going to ride Antropova to the finals. And it probably would have worked if Stysiak would have been average, but she elevated her game and was the difference maker. She scored at will. It was very impressive to watch.
All right. The match for me that arguably had the top two teams.
This was the
playing.
This was the
I
gold
thought
medal match.
this should have been the final, but
and not just because of the teams, like the match itself,
just the quality of play too. Yeah. So Vakifbank versus Conegliano. We already spoke about some serious heartbreak in our NCAA men's segment. It continued for me watching this game. I had Vakifbank picked to win, you guys, okay? But just the way that Conegliano managed to lose this game has my heart just like ripped out of my chest. Conegliano went up 2-0. In set 3, this match went 5. In set 3, Conegliano was up 22-18. They were up 24-22 receiving. And the last player that I ever in a million years would have expected to overpass 2 balls in a row did it. Moki Dajanaro. You guys. My favorite libero in the whole world. She overpassed 2 balls in a row. And then Isabel Hawk couldn't score. They had the match in their hands. They were about to sweep Vakifbank. You need to put up a remotely settable ball here. The shock I experienced watching this. I have no words.
So a couple things. They definitely dominated set 1 and 2. Like the first 2 sets weren't really close. Hawk struggled, but I thought a large portion of that were the sets that she was getting.
Oh, 100%.
I did not think Volleyball played very well down the stretch.
Well, I was thinking that about Volleyball in sets 1 and 2 too. I was like, she is not putting up the most hittable balls.
Hawk was inside a lot, and as a right-handed opposite, that's a really tough place to be.
Against a 6'6" wall in front of you.
I went digging for this match because I thought it was interesting. Here is the percent sets that Hawk got starting at set 1 and going down. So in set 1, she got 28% of the balls. Set 2, 32% of the balls. And then set 3, it was 40. And set 4, it was 42. And so I thought this definitely happened as the match went on, is Volleyball stopped running an offense. Again, it was the same thing that we saw from Scandici. So she got 2 sets in sets 1, 3, and 4, 1 set in set 5, but she got 6 sets in set 2 where they dominated 25-18.
Well, Volleyball underset Sarah Farr a couple times in set 1. Like Volleyball just seemed out to lunch to me, was not putting up good balls. And for anybody, Farr a couple times was like swinging from her shoulder trying to hit these balls.
It was not good to watch from an execution and a decision-making standpoint. And their hitters are so good that most of the time they were able to figure it out. But I thought she really sewered Hawk.
Well, and the fact that she just started setting her progressively more and more and more and more and not giving her good balls is just like, Hawk, is a great security blanket. Don't get me wrong. The girl can score pretty much whenever she wants. Yeah, that tells a lot.
To me, that it almost smells like panic. Like you're not sure.
I don't know if a team that's that successful, like they've had their backs against the wall before. I don't know if you can say that it's panic when you've won.
I understand.
You know how to win.
I understand that, but it wasn't the normal decision making. There was something that was either she didn't feel comfortable setting the other players, or it was just, we're going to go. I'm going to try and get her going because we need her to play, and the execution just wasn't there. I actually thought Zhu Ting scored the best out of all of their outside hitters in that match. I thought Gabi struggled to score points for stretches. There were definitely times when she stepped up and scored a bunch in a row, but it wasn't as clean as it normally was.
Well, and I think it's worth saying that they were playing with a backup middle. Kirikela wasn't there. So they were playing with their backup middle, Lubion. But again, we can't we're making it seem like Conegliano just like gave it away. Vakifbank was very good. They are very good, obviously.
Yeah, well, and Boskovic was a Jekyll and Hyde in this match, and she, quite frankly, was the reason they won. So I went in and looked at her. These numbers are outrageous. First set, she hit 286. They lost. Second set, she hit 300. They lost. That's still decent.
Yeah, those numbers are still fine.
Third set, she hit 611 on 18 balls. Oof. That's the set that they won 29-27. She then proceeded to hit 474 and 444. Like, that's incredibly good. So on the match, she hit 460 on 63 sets.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're saying. After set 2, she became the old Boskovic.
Yeah.
Like, we haven't seen her for a little bit.
Which is crazy to think about because she almost didn't get a chance to do that. Like, they were almost out of the tournament before that happened.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing that happened in this match that I thought was really interesting was their left side got hurt.
The Serbian
left side went down, and Kazot comes in at the end of the third set.
It was not pretty.
And she struggled. I think there were
She got an overpass and hit it like into the bleachers.
And
that's an exaggeration, but
you're sitting there going, oh man, like you're coming in after you've lost the first 2 sets. You're cold. You're playing one of the best teams in the world. Like, I felt for her.
I felt so bad for her because you could see the coach and everybody else being like, are you kidding me?
Well, and the thing was, Vakifbank had a pretty big lead in the third set when she came into play, and that lead disappeared very quick and pretty much on her errors. But I was super impressed with how she came back and managed to settle herself into the match. And quite frankly, I think her defense won them set 5.
Absolutely.
She was outstanding down the stretch. And
she was patrolling in zone 6. She was digging so many balls in set 5.
I mean, and not only the defense, she took some big swings in that match and scored, used the block a few times. She wasn't obviously Boskovic or Markova, but her resilience and ability to come in under the most amount of pressure off the bench, like, might have been the most impressive performance of the match.
At the end of the day, though, when you've got Boskovic and Markova, and then the middle duo of Zara Gunish and Ogbogu, who are very good offensively, but also prolific blockers, like, come on. Whew. And they all played pretty well.
They did all play pretty well, but they just ride their 2 hitters. Like, Boskovic got 63 sets, Markova got 60, and the next highest person was Gunish at 11.
Okay. I think they could definitely set their middles more than they do. And we are like throwing back this offense 20 years, you guys. Okay, the balls that Markova and Boskovic are getting set, I turned to Adam and I was like, these are balls that I used to get set as like a 6'5" lefty. Like,
when that was uncommon.
Yeah, I was like, dang, okay, put me in. I love these sets. They are setting these 2 to the ceiling, and they are just going up and beating the crap out of the ball.
Markova's contact point and
so
her
high
angle, it's impressive.
She's
to watch.
going over top a double block of 2 6'6" players.
On balls where she can't see the block because the sets are so high. She just trusts her ability to make contact at such a high point and get it in the court, even over top of those blocks. I haven't seen out of system hitting like that in a long time.
I wouldn't even call it out of system because they set her that high in system.
Well,
it's just like a high ball offense. Yeah. But the thing is I haven't seen anybody hit that much sharp angle since me. Fair. Honestly, I was like, give me the angle and give me sharper angle. Forget the line. This girl just like loves the sharp angle, and I am all about it. It is so good. Yeah. Anyway, this match was outstanding.
Out from top to bottom. Again, one of the best matches I think we've seen in Champions League, and probably the best 2 teams in the world right now. We'll talk about this quickly. Conegliano beats Candice 3-0.
We didn't watch it, not going to lie.
We didn't watch it. The first set was not close. The next 2, Conegliano won by 2. I think it was overtime. Might throw that on at some point, but we didn't get a chance to watch that one. But we did watch the Vakifbank is Azibashi final. What were your thoughts?
I only managed to watch the first 3 sets.
It only went to 4.
So I watched 3/4 of the match. I'm impressed that Azibashi found a way to pull out set 3. I think the better team won. Like, I think I would have been sad if Vakifbank hadn't won, because I think they are just the better team, not even from a skill perspective, but from the outside looking at the team as a whole. They just seem like super unified.
They're built the same way, right? They're built around 2 players, an opposite and a left side. And Boskovic elevated and was better than Stisiak, and Markova was better than Kerker. And really that's what it came down to. Boskovic was amazing again. She hit 604 on 48 sets, and Markova was 390 on 41. She's like,
I better be getting a contract extension. Thank you so much.
Well, that's her first Champions League win.
Yeah.
But going back to that comparison, Kerker hit 363 and Stisiak was 167.
Kerker was more tame than usual. I heard that she's working hard at becoming nicer on the court, but it's very difficult.
Do you think that matters?
I mean, she does get a lot of criticism for how she acts on the court. And honestly, like, watching her, I have made comments about how it's difficult to watch.
I understand from an outside perspective, but there's 2 things. Like, when you're playing, you want to play within yourself. So if it's not hindering your performance, and I might argue that it does, but if you're get along with your teammates and they feed off of it and they don't care, then screw everybody else.
No, I know. I'm just saying.
No, that's fair. But you could see them trying to get her going in that match, like setting her over and over, trying to find a way. The reality of it is they need her to be great the way they're built for them to win. And she was good, but Stisiak was nowhere near what she was in the semifinal. And that was the difference. Like, your opposite going 167 versus 604, you're not going to win. And quite frankly, I didn't think the game was particularly entertaining. Vakifbank beat them in blocks 15-8. They were team efficiency of 415 to 277. I thought Azibashi served better than they did, 7 aces to 2. When you're running a high ball offense to those players, it doesn't matter how you pass. They're still going to side out.
They just need to be settable.
Yeah. So it didn't really feel close.
And honestly, I didn't expect it to be close. Like you said, the final for me, as far as quality and entertainment, was the semifinal. I think it was good for the Turkish fans, and the fact that it was hosted in Istanbul and it was 2 teams from Istanbul in the final. I think that's cool. And just to see the 2, like, fan bases kind of represented there.
The atmosphere in the gym was great.
Yeah, it seemed really awesome. But yeah, I 100% think the better team won. We love Champions League. I might even go so far as to say that Champions League is my favorite pro league event in the world.
I can get behind that.
So we're sad it's over, but the men's is still happening May 16th weekend. So we've got one more chance to see best volleyball in the world. It is time for listener questions, everybody. Question 1, Adam. What is your fearless forecast on Eric Sullivan's coaching this year? I know his love stint is not an accurate measure for his national team coaching skills, but do you foresee a better coach outing this coming VNL?
I mean, I'm not sure why you would just suddenly be better in national team than you are in love. You kind of do what you do, and it should be consistent and the same all the time, no matter what level you're at, no matter what you're doing. At least that's my personal view of how you should coach. Like, there's no reason that you would do it one way here and not the other way. You generally have a philosophy, a way you prepare, a way you train, all of those things. So I don't see it being much different. I think what we can expect is how the staff works together. Have they buttoned down their processes? Are they making better or different roster choices? Like, I'm assuming we're going to see more or less who they believe will compete in the 2028 Olympics on this roster. Like, nobody else is taking the year off and then showing up next year. That's just not happening. For me, this is going to be what I would consider a make or break year in terms of seeing them take a step and competing with the top teams, because the mandate has to be to win a gold medal in LA. I can't see them being okay with anything else. This is your do it year for him. He had a chance to look at athletes, to get his feet wet internationally, to run the show, to play whoever he wanted, to kind of get a feel. Now you got to start winning. Now you got to show that you're competitive. So is that going to change? No, but he has different players. He has, a year of training. You would assume that they were doing some of their own system stuff. You should see a better product on the floor this summer, or that's not good.
I mean, I think that he was talking more and giving more feedback during the love season, at least in the latter half of the season. Mind you, like his coaching staff were also not big talkers, but he was talking more in timeouts than he did in the 2025 VNL season, I thought. Was it always what I found to be useful information? Not always, but last year in VNL, he was barely saying anything. So that was a step in the right direction. Okay, question 2. What is your opinion on the ridiculous amount of serving errors at the men's level? So the person who submitted this question also sent in some stats. For example, the USC versus UCLA match that happened a couple weeks ago. Like in one set, USC missed 9 serves. Okay, so over a third of the points in that set, but we're getting so many blocks. So the question basically was like, is it worth missing so many serves? Like, are you basically saying that your block defense isn't going to turn 2 to 4 of those 9 points that you're giving away?
I mean, against UCLA, probably not.
Okay, so just as an example in a context for the question.
I understand what you're saying, but it incredibly is dependent on who you are playing and what your opponent is doing. UCLA is an incredibly efficient side-out team, so you have to serve tough against them or you're not going to win. You saw the same thing in the Women's Champion League semifinal against Conegliano and Vakifbank. Like, they were bombing serves. They missed quite a few. Like, when you play against a team that is incredibly efficient inside out when they're in system, you have to serve tough or you're not going to win. Now, ideally you can serve tough and not miss so many, but you're going to have to find a rhythm. Some players are not feeling it that day and they've got to find it. It's not what you want, but sometimes it's required to beat your opponent if they're that good on side out.
I mean, it has historically been a knock on men's volleyball how many missed serves there are. And like, yeah, does it kill sort of the flow of the game? Absolutely. But as you were saying, like, if you're not walking that tightrope of errors and aces or errors and like complete out of system passes, the percent chance that you will stop a really efficient team with 3 or 4 attack options is very small. In men's volleyball, because they're hitting the ball so hard, I think the ace to error ratio is lower. So I think an acceptable ace to error ratio in a men's game is like 1 ace to like 3 errors probably. When you're getting up to like 12 errors in a set, that's a little extreme, but like you also see what happens. We saw this happen when UC Irvine played UCLA. UCLA is historically a very, very aggressive serving team who does make a lot of errors. I thought that they scaled back their serving a little bit against UC Irvine and wasn't serving as aggressively, but UC Irvine on the other hand had nothing to lose. Were just absolutely detonating serves, and you saw the difference that made in that match.
In that example specifically, UCLA started missing a ton of serves, so they dialed it back to not make so many and then couldn't find it. I think the other thing that a lot of people, unless you've played, don't realize is that as hitters, when you get a chance to hit in system and in rhythm, you find your groove. If you're only hitting out of system or you're hitting out of system more often than you're in system, it's really hard to manage that situation. So your block defense becomes even more effective when a hitter doesn't feel that rhythm. So even though you miss, the hitter on the opposing team is also not feeling good because they're getting clean side outs. So there's multiple layers to that.
Okay, question 3. This is in reference to our discussion/comment on Gulchkin, like going from Tennessee to being on the Fenerbahce roster and like actually splitting libero duties in that role. So do you think Ipar Kurt, who plays for Stanford, will have an opportunity to play at this level too, since she's from Turkey. I just love seeing players who weren't big names when they were in college, but are very successful now, especially Markova. Yeah. So I think what happens I'll use Turkey as an example. And if Turkish fans out there, if this is wrong, please correct me. But my understanding is that from a very young age, we've talked about this, the club system filters up to the top pro teams. So you have like the Fenerbahce youth, you have the Fenerbahce like second team, etc. So these players that we often see come to play NCAA or play in the States have been a part of like the Vakifbank youth team or the Fenerbahce youth team, etc. Then they're released to go play NCAA. So when they come back, they are still part of that club system, which is why I think we saw Guccikin come in and be on the roster right away. I don't know who Ipar Kurt grew up playing with, but I would not be shocked if we saw her post-graduation go back and be on the roster of whatever team she was a member of as a youth player.
Well, and especially if she keeps developing in those leagues, especially for like not the Champions League side, but the country leagues, you have to have X number of people from that country on the floor. So there's immediately opportunities for these players to play, and they can't just get pushed out by foreigners necessarily. So there is ample opportunity to kind of step in and do that if you've continued your progression from your youth days.
Okay, question 4. Do you think if someone is the top recruit in the nation and they never become an All-American, that this would be considered a miss or disappointment for the team they play for? And then they were like, yes, I'm thinking about Ali Batenhorst and Lindsay Krause. They were considered the top recruits in the nation, but never materialized into All-American players.
Correct me, they weren't All-Americans at all, or they weren't first-team All-Americans?
I believe they were not All-American.
You know the college game much better than I do, so I'm going to go first, and then you can fill in afterwards. I would say, in general, if you're the top recruit, yes, you should be an All-American at least once at some point. That seems like a reasonable expectation. I will say, however, that at Nebraska specifically and other teams that are very well balanced and don't rely necessarily on one stud, you don't always get recognition that maybe you would get on another team. And I'm not saying this applies to these two players specifically, but it is something to think about and to understand.
I understand what you're saying, but both of these players were starters as freshmen. So it's not like they weren't given an opportunity in a stacked program.
No, 100%.
You know what I mean?
I don't think that they realized the potential of a first round, I'm going to say draft pick, but of a top recruit. But I'm saying there are cases where that might happen.
I think it's a miss. I think if you're the top recruit in the country, you 100%, the expectation should be that you are an All-American.
Fair. Yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying.
Because neither of these, okay, maybe people are going to be up in arms, but neither of these players particularly impressed me when they played college. And honestly, I didn't even know that they were considered the number one recruits. But when I read this question and I saw that, I was shocked. Like, what? If you're that good when you're 16, 17, the expectation or the idea is that you're going to continue to improve playing against better competition. So yeah, I think that's a completely fair thought. And question 5. Can you explain the difference in the rules between NCAA men's and women's volleyball? It seems like men's is closer to international volleyball rules.
I mean, that's true, but I think the only reason it's true is because of the substitution. So I think the substitution rules are really the only major difference as far as I'm aware between men and women. So men have the same substitution rules as the international rules play. So they get 6 subs per set. But I believe everything else is pretty much the same.
And then the women, for reference, get 15 subs per set.
Yeah. We're keeping the listener questions a little shorter this week as we had a ton of stuff to talk about. But keep submitting your questions. When we get to a little bit of a lull in between seasons, we'll ratchet it back up and get back to 9 or 10 a week. All right, so we got a couple big things coming up this week. On Wednesday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern, we have the Italy A1 men's final match 3. As we discussed, could be the end of the series, so stay tuned for that. That will be on FIVB TV. Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern, MLV semifinals are on ION.
What the heck is Ion?
I don't know.
Why do we need 17 streaming services to watch volleyball?
Money. And then on Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern, MLV Finals are on, also on Ion. Stay tuned on where you can find Ion. And then Saturday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, NCAA Men's semifinals are happening on ESPN+.
The finals are going to be on Monday. We aren't sure if our episode will be released by then. So
we may, if you don't see it on Monday, we've waited until Tuesday so that we can wrap up the men's season.
That concludes this week's episode of Volley Talk. There's always something shaking in the volleyball world, and we hope you enjoyed this little fix. Be sure to follow the show so you don't miss any updates, and we'd be so grateful if you'd leave us a 5-star review. You can also find us on Instagram at volleytalk_podcast. If there's a topic you'd like us to discuss, you can reach out on Instagram or at info@sarahpavin.com. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll be back next week.